What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it is time to give you my 2024 Big Ten football projections heading into the 2024 college football season. Yesterday, I gave you my projected standings for the SEC. If you have not seen that video, be sure to go back and check it out right here on the channel. We are now going to be giving you our Big Ten projected standings, show you what the standings could look like based on our projected records. This is not my official prediction, of course. These are simply projections based on how tough each and every single team in the Big Ten schedule was for 2024. So let's get right into it here. We'll start from the bottom and work our way to the top. No more divisions, of course, in the Big Ten this year, and we'll start here from 13 to 18. So at number 18 at the bottom, I got Purdue here at number 18, projected to go 4-8 and then 2-7 here in the conference. It's not, I think, the Purdue is going to be bad. I just feel like they have a pretty tough schedule. It really comes down to their Big Ten schedule. They also have a pretty tough non-conference schedule. They got Notre Dame and also Oregon State on that schedule this year in the non-conference, and I don't really expect them to go winless in the Big Ten. I feel like they can probably win at least 2 games in the Big Ten, and that goes for all the Big Ten teams that are probably not, that have no high expectations this year. I just don't really see anybody going winless in the Big Ten because I feel like the Big Ten is just way too, I feel like it's not going to be a wide open conference, but I just feel like no team is going to go winless in the Big Ten. I know the schedules are tough, but I feel like they're going to probably just win at least 1 or 2 games or maybe like 3 games as well. So Purdue here, they are obviously projected to be the worst team in the Big Ten as of right now for me. They are projected to go 4-8 based on how tough their schedule is. And then Illinois, Michigan State, and UCLA are all projected to go 5-7 and then 3-6 here in the conference. You look at Illinois, kind of hard to tell how good this team is going to be based off of where they were from last season, but based on their schedule, they are projected to go 5-7. Their schedule sounds like it's pretty tough. And then Michigan State and UCLA are pretty similar teams. They have first-year head coaches. We don't know how good these two teams will actually be, so that's why they're projected to go 5-7. UCLA has a pretty tough schedule, though. They got to play LSU in the non-conference on the road at Death Valley out of the SEC, so that's going to be a very tough game there for the Bruins. And then they got, of course, Penn State and Oregon both on the schedule. They get Oregon at home, but they have to play Penn State on the road, so that'll be very tricky there for UCLA. But again, all 3 of these teams, UCLA, Michigan State, and Illinois, are all projected to come up just short of bowl games. They are projected to go 5-7. And then Indiana and Northwestern are both projected to go 6-6, so they're projected to go to a bowl game, barely there at 6-6, and then 3-6 here in the conference. Indiana has done a pretty good job in the transfer portal this year. Their first-year head coach obviously has done a pretty nice job, so it seems like Indiana's got a pretty bright future with this head coach using the transfer portal and everything. So I think Indiana has a chance to be pretty good, but it's not really just about the overall record. It's more about their schedule. I think their schedule is not that horrible. Their non-conference schedule is pretty easy. They do play Ohio State and Michigan, but they get Michigan at home, and then they play the Buckeyes on the road. So I think Indiana's schedule is not that horrible, and that's why you're seeing their projection at 6-6. Northwestern also projected to go 6-6. They're here at number 13 for me. I think Northwestern has a chance to be pretty solid in that 6-6 record. I know their schedule probably is a little bit tough, but either way, I feel like they're going to be probably better than that 6-6 record. But I feel like they'll be underdogs in some of their games that they'll play this year in the Big Ten because this is obviously a second-year head coach for them after Pat Fitzgerald was fired and the interim head coach took over. So maybe last year was probably just a fluke for Northwestern. Maybe they could be a little bit worse this year. Maybe they could be a lot better. But as of right now, their projection is 6-6 based on how tough that schedule is. So these are my standings here from 13 to 18 here for the Big Ten Conference. Moving on, we got 7 through 12. We got Washington here at number 12, projected to go 6-6. Nebraska also projected to go 6-6. And then Maryland also projected to go 6-6. So Maryland, Nebraska, and Washington are also projected to go 6-6 based on how tough their schedules are. But Washington and Nebraska are both projected to win 3 games in the Big Ten, and then Maryland's also projected to go 4-5. You look at Washington, obviously going to be a very different team compared to last year. Obviously, they lost a lot of production from that national championship team. Michael Penix, of course, will be gone this year, so they're going to have a new quarterback and also a new head coach this year. So It's kind of hard to tell how good the Huskies will be here this year in 2024, but based on their schedule, they are, based off of their schedule, they are projected to go to a bowl game. And then Nebraska, they are projected to go to a bowl game. It's kind of hard to tell how good Nebraska is going to be each and every single year because they lose those close games and everything. And like I said, every year with Nebraska, if they can win those close games, they have a chance to be pretty good. But, Matt Rule, obviously in his second year, it's going to take some time for them to really get things settled for Nebraska. But you look at their schedule, they do play Colorado in the non-conference. They have to play, I believe, Ohio State on the schedule this year and probably Michigan. I just can't really remember all the schedules. But so yeah, Nebraska's schedule is pretty tough, but they are projected to go to a bowl game at 6-6 here. And then Maryland comes in projected also to go 6-6, but 4-5 here in the conference. Now they do play Virginia on the road in the non-conference, so that's not a very tough non-conference game for the Terrapins, but I do kind of expect Maryland to get to a bowl game still, even though this is not going to be the same Maryland team to project to go maybe 8-4, maybe 9-3 perhaps, but they are projected to go to a bowl game at least. They're sitting there at number 10, again projected to go 6-6, so go to a bowl game this year. And then we got USC, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. They're all projected to go 7-5, and then 4-5 here in the conference. You look at USC, first year in the conference, of course. They are going to have a tough schedule this year. They got to play LSU and Notre Dame both in the non-conference. They get LSU in a neutral site game in Las Vegas, so that probably will be a home game there for USC, probably because there will be more USC fans at Las Vegas. But either way, that's going to be a very tough game there for the Trojans. They also got to play Penn State on the schedule. The good news is they get that game at home, but they don't have to play, the good news is they don't have to play Oregon or Ohio State here on the schedule, so the schedule probably could be a lot worse, and USC probably could be at 5-7 in the projection. But as of right now, they are projected to go to a bowl game, but only projected to go 7-5. And then Minnesota here also projected to go 7-5. I do kind of expect Minnesota to have a better year this year. They were 5-7 last year. This is a Minnesota team that's very consistent as a program in the Big Ten. They're going to have a non-conference game against North Carolina on this schedule, but I do expect Minnesota to probably be the favorite in that game, even though they got beat by North Carolina last year. But North Carolina is going to be a little bit different, so I feel like Minnesota playing at home in that game, they will be favored in that one, but they are projected to go 7-5 here, based on their schedule. And then Wisconsin comes in here at number 7. They are also projected to go 7-5, based on how tough their schedule is. They got to play Alabama in the non-conference. The good news is they get that game at home this year. They got Oregon on the schedule as well. The good news is they get that game at home as well. So those are very tough games there for Wisconsin. But based on their schedule, it is a pretty tough schedule this year for the Badgers, and also based off of where they were from last year as well. So Wisconsin here at number 7, we're kind of expecting some improvement here for the Badgers in year 2 under Luke Fickell. But again, based on their schedule, they are projected to go 7-5 and then 4-5 here in the conference. So these are my projected standings here from 7 through 12. Let's go to the top 6 now. We got Rutgers here at number 6. They are projected to go 7-5 and then 5-4 in the conference. Rutgers have a pretty favorable schedule this year. It's not a horrible schedule. They do play, like I said, a non-conference game against Virginia Tech on the road this year, but I think Rutgers might have a chance in that game to probably win that game. But their Big Ten schedule is not that horrible. They don't have to play Oregon or Ohio State on the schedule. I don't think they have to play Penn State. I'm not really sure if I can remember that or not, but I feel like they do play some sort of tough team there in the Big Ten schedule. They got to play Washington, but I feel like Rutgers will be having a chance in that game as well. So again, a pretty favorable schedule here for the Scarlet Knights, coming off a pretty good season last year. I mean, they got some good momentum going into 2024, and again, based on their schedule, they are projected to go 7-5. And then Iowa and Penn State both here projected to go 8-4, then 6-3 here in the conference. Iowa has a pretty tough schedule this year. They got to play Iowa State out of the non-conference. Of course, they play that game every single year, but they got to play Ohio State on the road. That's obviously they're going to be their toughest road game on the schedule, but it's kind of hard to tell how good the Hawkeyes will be this year. Again, based off where they were from last year, they did go to the Big Ten championship, but their offense was absolutely horrible, but their defense probably should be pretty solid. But they're going to have a new offensive coordinator, and hopefully Cade McNamara will be pretty healthy this year for the Hawkeyes as well. But they are projected to go 8-4, and then Penn State here at 8-4 as well. Penn State has a pretty tough schedule this year. They're going to be playing Ohio State, of course, on the road. They don't have to play Oregon at least, but they have a tough non-conference game on the road at West Virginia. I know Penn State beat West Virginia easily last year, but that probably won't be an easy game this time just because it's on the road, and West Virginia had a pretty surprising season. So based on that schedule, Penn State is projected to go 8-4. And then Ohio State comes in at number 3. They are projected to go 10-2 and then 7-2 here in the conference. This Ohio State team, I feel like they're going to be a lot better than that 10-2 record. But based on their schedule, they do have a very tough schedule in the Big Ten. They got to go on the road and play Oregon and Penn State both on the road this year. And they got Michigan, of course, at the end of the season. So the Buckeyes do have a pretty tough schedule in the Big Ten. It's not really just about the non-conference. It's more about the Big Ten schedule. Again, they play Oregon on the road and then, of course, Penn State on the road. Those are likely probably 2 losses there for the Buckeyes, but I feel like they can probably beat Michigan at least because, Michigan's going to have a lot of roster turnover. But, again, that's a game. You just never know what can happen. So the Buckeyes here, again, projected to go 10-2 and then 7-2 here in the conference based on their schedule. And then we got Oregon and Michigan, both projected to go 11-1 and then 8-1 here in the conference. For Oregon, they do play Ohio State, like I mentioned. They don't have to play Penn State at least, but they get Ohio State at home. And realistically, the Ducks' schedule is not that horrible. They do have a non-conference game against Oregon State on the road, but I feel like Oregon's probably going to be favored in that game. So a pretty favorable schedule here for the Oregon Ducks. And then Michigan here, of course, at the top, also projected to go 11-1. Now, before Jim Harbaugh took the Chargers job, Jim Harbaugh was still with Michigan when we did our Big Ten projection here for Michigan. That's why they're projected to go 11-1, but based off of where this team was from last year and winning the national championship, and of course the Big Ten championship, that's why they're projected to go 11-1. I know they're going to have a lot of roster turnover this year, but again, based off their schedule and also based off of where they were last year, we know they're going to be favored in almost every single one of their games just based off of where they were last year. So Michigan, again, projected to go 11-1. And again, they will play Oregon, on the schedule. They also got Ohio State on the schedule. They get Ohio State on the road, but at least they play Oregon at home. So that's the reason why Michigan is ahead of Oregon, just because of the home field advantage in the game against the Ducks. So these are my projected standings here for the Big Ten for 2024. Let me guys know what you think about these Big Ten projected standings and also these projected records for 2024. And also let me know down in the comments below, what do you think about these standings? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.